82-76. It is over at the Chrysler Center. Michigan with the victory over the visiting Oregon Ducks. May not have been how you wanted it. It certainly wasn't a Picasso or a thing of beauty, whatever you want to say about that. Michigan escaping. Michigan won this game ugly. And if you want to look at the positives, I think you start with it being a W, and you could go to Michigan and how they have played against West Coast teams and how they have gone 4-0 against those teams. But, Dusty May after the game said Michigan has to play smarter. And he said Michigan has to play better. And he said if they play the way they did tonight, coming up this weekend in Bloomington, they're going to be in trouble. And I think everyone agrees with that. The turnovers, which were manageable in the first half, let's all say it together, reared its ugly head in just some wild turnovers, just in some of the players. Woo, by Michigan. That's on the bad side. And, can they correct that? Can they get it going? Look, they've played enough games now. Oh, what are we talking about? They've played over 20 games. They've played 22 games. So, this is Michigan. They don't have a complete team where they are going to be able to be sure-handed and take care of the ball. And that is probably going to cost them. Probably going to cost them a Big Ten title. Probably will cost them the kind of seed that you might otherwise think that you could get if you didn't have those. But could they be a dangerous NCAA tournament team if they're able to? I don't know. Can you catch fire? Like, you catch fire from outside in making shots, and that can overcome some of your blemishes. But to play sound basketball, and you always say it, you always hear it in tournament play, that you got to have strong guard play. Michigan doesn't have strong guard play, and they've got one guard right now, and that's going to be tough, very tough when you think about them in March. But March is a long ways away. And even though I just said, they are who they are, could they get in position where they could win a couple games where they could put it together, so maybe there'd be a dangerous team. I don't think anybody would want to play Michigan, but I also think that we're going to be sitting here and probably singing the same tune when it's all over. That we saw this from the beginning, we saw it midway through, we saw it at the end. They can't take care of the ball well enough where, to be a great team. They're a good team, but to be a very good team, to be a team that does something in March, they got to do better. And, there was was it last week or something, Dusty said the only thing they did is practice passing the ball and catching the ball, valuing the ball. Monday, when Dusty May was at his weekly news conference, when he was asked about his team and what can they do to be better, and that they have to be better down the stretch, he said three things: turnovers, turnovers, and turnovers. And so he knows it. He's trying a lot of different things, but you got guys that they had four guys going pretty good tonight. Gale was not one of them in the starting lineup. He played one. Gale, he'll have a pretty good game, and he'll have a game like tonight. Tonight was a terrible game. If you had not watched Michigan all year long and you say, why is Roddy Gale in the lineup? Well, then you could say, well, you could put in Reuben Jones. Reuben Jones he hasn't done anything. He has not been able to acclimate to transferring up from North Texas. I mean, it just doesn't look like it. That doesn't mean he can't in the month to go, but, and he was a little hurt to start the season, but we just haven't seen it from Reuben Jones. We hadn't seen it from it's been peaks and valleys from Gale. To Gale's credit, he did hit some big free throws down the stretch, but he's mind-blowing turnovers. Gale plays the game way too fast. He's got a nice skill set, but he goes too fast. And that causes him to sometimes jump, and he doesn't know what he's going to do with the ball. He doesn't know if he's going to shoot it. He doesn't know if he's going to pass it. And it ends up turning it over way too many times. And it's like the game is too fast for him at times. He plays too fast at times. He's falling over. He's throwing the ball out of bounds. He just throws it to the other team. It's very frustrating to watch, but they need him because they don't have Gale. Say, well, go to Pippen. Well, the true freshman came in. He had the ball ripped, and he didn't do anything either. And you could say, well, maybe they should go to LJ Kayson. If we're at this point, or you're talking about go to the freshman, and Kayson hasn't seen the floor now in a couple weeks, really. He's been passed up by Pippen. They just don't have the guard play. And, we say all this, I'm saying all this, and yet they're in pretty good position looking up at the top of the Big Ten standings. It just seems like it's, what's a good word for this? Foreboding. Define foreboding. Fearful, apprehension, a feeling that something bad will happen. Bang. That's it for Michigan when you watch them play. Woo, man. All right. Let's, I'm talking to myself here to take a couple breaths, and then we'll go through this game a little bit for you. Mr. Martini's here. We always, we're here after every Michigan game. If you like to comment and get involved, you can. M&M saying, lucky for Michigan, the Ducks were worse. I'll buy that. Luckily, Oregon, they had so many opportunities in this game. It's a good point where Michigan could, they were very sloppy. And if, I think I even wrote it down just like you're saying, Mr. Martini. If the Ducks could shoot, it's a good thing the threes weren't dropping. Good things they weren't able to do. They were turning it over. They were missing the front end of a one-on-one. They did a lot of things that bad team, or I don't know, about the teams that lose end up doing. They were, at a lot of points, matching Michigan's sloppiness. So, but okay, shouldn't make all that wound up watching this game, but I am, game number 22 on the year, number 24 for Michigan. Let's see, 17-3. It is 22. Michigan was an 8.5 point favorite in this one. And, U of M, they got up by double figures, but had to settle for a 5-point lead at the half. It was 41-36. In the second half, U of M jumped back up to double figures. They were up by 10, but then there was the sloppiness. They never were able. There was 2 or 3 points where you think, if Michigan puts a slaps on a minute or two of good basketball here, this game is going to be over. But that didn't happen. And the Ducks made a run. There was a 10-2 run. They got it down to 4, and then they got it down to 2 with 2.5 to go. So this was a dangerous game for Michigan. But then the Wolverines made their last 7 free throws. Wolf and Gale knocking down some big free throws for the Wolverines. Dusty, after the game, he said that they need to play smarter, and if they play like they did tonight, they will be in trouble at Indiana. Now, that is not an exact quote, but that's pretty close in a paraphrase to what he had to say to Andy Katz on the floor after the game. Now, the play of the game, as I was looking at it, I thought it was when Michigan had gone on a big drought. They were turning it over a lot, and they made an effort to get the ball to Vlad. They had to get it to Vlad, and they did. And then Vlad, it wasn't even in what you would say the best position where, Vlad would want it down on the low block. It was a little bit farther out, and he had to make 2 or 3 dribbles, which I've seen him turn it over a few times this year when he's had to do that. But he was able to back in and get in position. There were at least 3, if you wanted to say 4, Ducks converging on him. He went up and he made the basket, made the layup, and ended up getting an and one. He missed a free throw. I think that was the last free throw Michigan missed, but it was a huge bucket. And I think it got Michigan back up with a 4-point cushion there. I suppose I could look at it. It was 76-72. That was the play of the game. Let's look at the numbers and see what jumps out as we see Michigan tonight. The Wolf of State Street, it shows you what one play can do. Last night I watched a little bit of the Celtics and the Cavs, and Donovan Mitchell in the first quarter came down and dunked on the Celtics. And Porzingis, he dunked on the 7-5 guy. And, it ended up being the number 1 play on SportsCenter. But the whole crowd, was up. Danny Wolf in the first half of this game was close to the 3-point line. He was kind of going through some dribbles. And then he kind of did a reverse and then it did a step back. Bardo called it looked like Kevin Durant, is what he said. It was pretty, to see a 7-footer, to see the step backs and to be able to do it, to gather yourself. You see the guards do it all the time. You see you guys in the NBA do it every night. But Wolf pretty much brought the house down. I don't know if that's going to make the SportsCenter a step back from the 7-footer, but everybody was oohing and ahhing. It was like, oh, the Wolf of State Street, look at him. He's awesome. He was. It was a great looking shot from Danny Wolf, who was controlling the game. At the half, they were talking about the most double-double since the tractor, Robert Traylor, with Danny Wolf. And he had another double-double, 15 points, 12 boards, and he was 2 of 4 from downtown. But his biggest contribution came late in the game. If you had to say where were the biggest free throws, we could argue that it was either from Roddy Gale with 8.3 seconds left, and Michigan was just up 2. He buried both of them. Those are pretty big. But before that, with 15.6 seconds to go, with 24.8 seconds to go, Wolf made 2. Both of those were huge. Vlad had 15 and 6. Still think he's coming back a little bit. He gets smacked in the face and hit in the head area a lot. It seems like at every other game he's down on the floor and you're thinking, oh, no. That's what I thought tonight. And I'm like, it's Vlad. Vlad goes to the floor a lot. It's all right. I'm not the one getting, elbowed in the face or poked in the eye or whatever else, but it's something, and if you've watched every game, you see the big man down on the floor. But 15 and 6 of 7 from the field. Say, get him the ball more. I agree with that. Give Vlad the ball every time you can. And then 3 of 5 from the charity stripe. He has been pretty good. Namari had a good game for Michigan. 13.5 boards, 3 of 6 from downtown. Trey Donaldson had a dozen. Wasn't his best game. And then, here's Gale. Gale had a rough one. But 6 of 8 from the free throw line. And just too many turnovers for Gale. 3, it seemed like more. Most games you can count on Gale to give you like 3 wow plays, 3 positive plays, and then 3 or 4 real negative wow plays. So you're like, what? Wow. Tonight it was mostly just wow, terrible ones, but he did make those free throws like the mention. Will Cheddar is awesome. This was a season high for Chad, who was banging them in from all over the place. 17 off the bench and 2 of 5 from downtown, 3 of 3 from the charity stripe, 6 for 9. Cheddar's instant offense. Cheddar, get him the ball. It's going up. Let's see it. Let him fly, man. I want more Cheddar. I always saying that when I'm watching. He plays hard. A lot of times, he goes back to the bench because of foul trouble. He did hurt his shoulder, so maybe that affected it. And he did get in there a little bit later, but more Cheddar is always good. Walters, who had put back-to-back games together where he looked like a pretty solid contributor, was nowhere to be found tonight. Same thing with Pippen and Reuben Jones. Nothing there. So it's a tail of the tape when you walk through and look at the box score. Steve checking in said the Ducks, good thing that the Ducks had no inside play. Yeah, good point. The Ducks big man, that dude's mostly he can step outside the key, and tough shot, especially for a big man, making him from about 10 feet. He's got nice touch, and then he would shoot some threes. But you're right. They were living by the three, and they just weren't very impressive, talking about Oregon offensively. They had opportunity after opportunity. Blueberry Bird is saying, okay, they won the game. Yeah, I think you can. I think if we just want to bottom line it and not talk about, the good or the bad, and you just want to go to the end and say they won, that is the hammer. They won the game. You're correct. And they're in a pretty good position. And I don't want to sound like I'm sitting here crying about this team, because I like the team. They're a fun team. They're going to be in the tournament. They're exceeding expectations. But, there is the part where they can be brutal to watch, and it's because of the turnovers. And they don't have good guard play. And again, so am I going to – we just know that. I don't need to say it anymore tonight. Blue Bird is correct. They did win the game. And in fact, they're ranked, and they're 17-5 and 9-2. And I'll play the game for a second. The game is, if I told you that Michigan would be ranked this year, that they would go undefeated against the West Coast teams, that they would be undefeated at home, that they would be 17-5, that they would be 9-2, and be one game back of first place with 9 games left and there are 8 games left in the regular season, what would you say? You'd say you would take that. Are you crazy? But yeah, then you put the other parts in there. Oh, that's it. Let's see. They've got 6 left this month, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, they've got 9 games. 9 games remaining. And with 9 to go, it just, if I'm going to predict, I would predict that they're not going to win the Big Ten because of their guard play and because of their turnovers. And I would predict that, it's hard, but just taking a look at it, that they would have a rough time in the conference tournament and then also in the NCAA tournament because of their guard play and their turnovers. But that's just looking at the negative parts. They do some good things, and teams, you can get hot. Can they get hot and take care of the ball? And can one or two of those players, can Gale and or Jones? It's really going to be it's got to be Roddy and Rubin. That's the spot. The big 4 out there for them that start, they're fine. Roddy and Rubin. That's your second guard. That's your first guard off the bench. After that, you're talking about a true freshman in Pippen. It just needs better play. If you look and you say, can they win the Big Ten? Oh, that's where you have to look. They've got those other guys. Can you overcome? And every team has something that you're looking at. They can't do this. They can't do that. But this team, lacks a guard play after Donaldson, guard depth, way too up and down. That's it. Fancy says you don't really get basketball, to be honest. I don't know if Fancy Lion is talking to me or if he's talking to Blueberry Bird. I don't know. I think he's probably talking to Blueberry Bird because obviously, I was going to say, I do know the game. I don't know. Whatever. It's all good. Even if you're talking about me, you might think that. There was a part where I was over on the Maize and Blue review during the game. They have a live thread. And most of the game today, it was not all of it. People were pretty excited about, Danny Wolf plays, but most of it was just complaining about the turnovers. And I was looking at it. I'm thinking, they're up 10. Maybe I'll make a little post about the Big Four is executing pretty well. But every time when I got ready and I picked up the phone about, hey, up 10, not too bad. Oregon started getting it close. I said, why don't I just wait on making any post about don't look now. They're, running away with this because they never did. You want some more numbers? I've got numbers for you coming out of the yin yang here. We've got Ken Pom numbers. We've got Michigan checking in today before tonight's game on kenpom.com at number 21. They were all the way up to 10, a high of 10. They cracked the top 10 at one point this year. But they're down at 21, a defensive rating of 25 and an offensive rating of 20, but 21 from kenpom.com. They are the 6th ranked kenpom.com team when you look at it. You might wonder, are they in the NCAA tournament? Joey Brackets thinks so. Joe Lenardi put out his latest bracketology yesterday, and he had Michigan as a 7th seed in the tourney. Last week, he had them as a 6th seed. So, and Michigan's actually done nothing but win 2 games since then, but they've got a 7th seed right now. Joe with 13 teams in the SEC getting in 10 teams in the Big Ten. And remember, it's an expanded Big Ten, but 10 teams in the Big Ten being in at this point, and then the Big 12 with 8 teams in. They got Ohio State as one of those last 4 buys on the bubble. But hey, Michigan is in, and that's what you like. Let's look at that schedule. We talk about it a lot. Let's talk about it more as we check the upcoming schedule, and is brought to you by the Maize and Blue Review. Give yourself or that UFM fan in your life the gift of the Maize and Blue Review for 2025. To do that, go to michigan.rivals.com. Well, coming up, it's Indiana, 1 o'clock, Super Bowl Sunday. 1 o'clock game, Super Sunday in Bloomington. Very winnable game for Michigan. 1 week, you watch Indiana go to Mackey and play Purdue and fight them tooth and nail. And that's the battle of the Hoosier State and everything. But I watched some of that game and I'm like, wow, Indiana looks pretty good. Then Indiana goes on the road and gets beat pretty good by Wisconsin. So we'll see what we're looking at in terms of looking at the last time Indiana was at home. They lost by 1 to Maryland. Illinois went in there and smoked them. But they'll be pointing to that game. Obviously, the Hoosiers will. And Dusty May, who grew up Born in Terre Haute. I don't know exactly the timeline. I was looking at his Wikipedia page recently, and he said he spent however they put it, his formidable years, high school years, 15 minutes from Bloomington. He went to IU. He was a student manager when he was in college. He then was on the staff there in some way, in some role for the General Bob Knight when he was there before then moving around. And then now, heading back. Well, not the prodigal son or anything returning, but, he is heading back home. So Super Sunday, and then look at the stretch. Purdue at Ohio State and Michigan State. I was saying with these games in February for Michigan, if they could just go 3-3, I think they would be hanging in there and they would be doing all right. Well, they've won the first two against Rutgers and against Oregon. And now, a very winnable game, a game that'll be on CBS at 1:00. I said Super Sunday, and then I'm looking at it here, and it says Saturday. I don't know why. They did not move the Super Bowl. Somebody should have caught that. I think I've been saying that for like a week now. But now I'm looking at it. Saturday at 1:00. It's Michigan and Indiana. That will change my Super Bowl Sunday plans. Well, I'll have all day then to get ready for that game. I like it. Super Saturday. Super Bowl weekend. It will be a Super Saturday for Indiana. I like it that way. I don't, you have a 1:00, 2, 3, 3:34. I mean, you're getting close. And if once you get to like 3, 4 o'clock, you're thinking nothing but Super Bowl and all of that. But I like it on a Saturday. It's like, so does Mr. Martini. So that's it. If I had to go back and look at this game, somebody didn't watch it, say, how did Michigan play? You'd say they were sloppy in the second half. They could have easily blown out Oregon. They could have easily won this game by double figures, but they just got sloppy with their turnovers, especially in the second half. And it allowed Oregon back in the game. And if Oregon had, I don't want to disparage them too much, but if they had any pulse, if they were able to hit any shots, they were to hit a front end of a one-on-one. If they weren't just throwing the ball out of bounds either and matching Michigan's ineptness, they would possibly been able to win this game. They didn't. So Michigan wins it, and Michigan really does well at the charity stripe. So give them credit there. They, Wolf, the two big ones late. Gale, the two big ones late. And as a team, they shoot 81% from the charity stripe. That's very good, if not great. 17 of 21, but 15 turnovers overall. You say, hey, I'm used to Michigan turning it over all the time, but they only had 5 in the first half, so 10 turnovers in the second half. Mr. Martini, yeah, it's one of those things when I like it. Mr. Martini, you're singing my song here. I like it when you've got, let's say, Michigan basketball playing at 1, the Red Wings playing like at 4:30, the Pistons playing at 7:30. That's the way I like it. But we always can't get what we want when it comes down to that. Apparently, the Red Wings playing Saturday as well. Let's move that game then to Sunday at 1:00. I've been talking about it like that, making plans like that all along. Let's do it. Okay, that'll do it. We're here after every Michigan basketball game. Everyone have themselves an enjoyable Wednesday night. We'll talk with you on this very feed on Friday on Good Afternoon Michigan football and basketball. We'll get you ready for the weekend. Today was a great day for Michigan football as they were able to land an incredible tackle to round out their 25 recruiting class and take the momentum that they built in the last 3 games into the off season. So everything's looking pretty good there. And then if this basketball team can play smarter, then maybe they'll be a team that will be reckoned with. Or maybe we'll be singing the same song. That's what will be determined over these last 9 games, and then in the Big Ten tournament and in the NCAA tournament. Tonight, it ends up going Michigan's way. And a lot of times where I've sat around saying, oh, the team played well, but they lost. That's not what happened tonight. Team played well enough to get the victory. They moved to 17-5 on the year, 9-2 in conference play. And they will be at Indiana this Saturday at 1 o'clock. We'll talk with you after the game then. Thanks for watching. Again, have a great night. See you later.